The Pentagon just admitted they've been lying to us for 5 years. Right now, at an undisclosed location, there's a fighter jet flying that's so advanced, so revolutionary, that when China's intelligence agencies found out about it, they accelerated their entire military timeline by 3 years. This jet has been in the air since 2019. You've never seen a photo of the real one. Every image you've seen online? Fake. Deliberately altered to hide what it actually looks like. I'm about to show you the biggest military secret in 50 years, and by the end of this video, you'll know something that 99% of people still don't understand. March 21st, 2025. Trump steps up to the podium and drops a nuclear bomb on the defense industry. Boeing won. $20 billion. And let me tell you something nobody's told you. An experimental version of this plane has secretly been flying for almost 5 years. Wait, what? For 5 years, while we were watching China parade their J-36, while Russia was bragging about their Su-57, Boeing was flying a fully operational 6th-generation fighter in complete secrecy. Not a concept, not a mock-up. A real, flying, weapons-capable aircraft logging hundreds of combat simulation hours. Here's the part that should terrify our enemies. The F-47 program started test flights in 2019. That means while China was designing their 6th-gen fighter, America was already flying one. And here's the kicker that nobody's talking about. The Air Force announced this on purpose. They wanted China and Russia to know. This wasn't a leak. This was a message. A message that says you're already 5 years behind and you didn't even know the race started. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. In May 2024, the entire program was canceled. Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall stood up and said the costs were too high, 3 times the price of an F-35, and they were pulling the plug. Every defense publication ran the story. NGAD fighter program terminated. Congress held hearings. China celebrated. Except it was all theater. Because 9 months later, Boeing suddenly has a $20 billion contract, manufacturing facilities are already built, and General Alvin announces we've already begun manufacturing the first aircraft. You don't build a 1.1 million square foot manufacturing facility in 9 months. You don't tool up production lines that fast. Trump even mentioned they'd already built the sheds, the massive assembly buildings needed for a fighter this size. So what really happened in May 2024? My theory? And I've talked to people who would know. The cancellation was a deception operation. While China thought the program was dead, Boeing was accelerating. They used the pause to solve the cost problems, finalize the design, and get production ready, all while our adversaries stopped worrying about it. And now, China just realized they got played. The F-47 isn't coming. It's already here. Here's the detail that blew my mind when I figured it out, and I haven't seen anyone else connect these dots. Remember Dr. Will Roper? In 2020, he announced that the Air Force had designed, built, and flown a full-scale flight demonstrator for a next-gen fighter. Most people thought he was exaggerating or talking about some small-scale prototype. He wasn't. That demonstrator has been flying since 2019. And here's the insane part. They built 2 of them. Boeing built 1. Lockheed Martin built 1. Both companies flew full-scale, combat representative aircraft for 5 years before Trump announced the competition winner. This wasn't some X-plane experimental project. These were production representative aircraft testing actual operational systems. Adaptive engines, AI flight controls, drone coordination, stealth coatings, all of it. Real hardware, real flight hours, real combat simulation data. Boeing won because their demonstrator worked. Right now. Today. It's flying today. Okay, now let me tell you about the capability that China is absolutely losing sleep over. It's not the stealth. It's not the range. It's not even the crazy adaptive engines. It's this. One F-47 pilot can control 1,000 autonomous drones simultaneously. Let me repeat that because it sounds like science fiction. 1,000 drones. The Air Force calls them Collaborative Combat Aircraft, CCAs. But don't let the boring acronym fool you. These are full-scale fighter-sized drones with stealth, weapons, and AI brains that can make combat decisions in milliseconds. Here's how this changes warfare forever. Right now, if you want to overwhelm a modern air defense system, you need dozens of aircraft, tankers, electronic warfare planes, and support assets. You're risking hundreds of pilots. You're spending billions in fuel and maintenance, and the enemy sees you coming from 500 miles away. With the F-47, one pilot launches from a safe distance. 4 CCAs are already airborne. The F-47 hangs back 200 miles from the enemy. The CCAs surge forward, spreading out over a 500-mile front. The enemy radar lights up with dozens of targets. Their missiles launch. But the CCAs are networked. They're coordinating defense in real time. Some dodge, some jam, some deploy decoys. The missiles miss. Now the CCAs have mapped every enemy radar, every SAM site, every fighter position. The F-47 pilot has a complete picture of the battle space without ever being detected. The CCAs swarm forward, weapons hot. Multiple simultaneous attacks from different vectors. The enemy can't track them all, can't engage them all. And if they shoot down a CCA, it costs $30 million. We've got 996 more. This is the nightmare scenario that every Chinese and Russian air defense commander is dealing with right now. How do you stop an enemy you can't see, who controls hundreds of autonomous fighters, who can attack from every direction at once? You don't. You just lose. Now, let me tell you about my favorite part of this whole story, the canard controversy. Every single rendering of the F-47 shows these small wing surfaces near the nose, canards. And the entire defense community is arguing about why they're there, because it makes no sense. Canards ruin stealth. They create radar returns. The US has never put canards on a stealth fighter. Never. So why now? Here's what I think is happening, and this is pure speculation, but hear me out. The canards aren't real. They're misdirection. The Air Force literally said the images are placeholders that aren't intended to accurately portray the aircraft. Every photo has been digitally altered. They've openly admitted this. So why show canards at all? Because now every engineer in China and Russia is trying to figure out how Boeing solved the canard stealth problem. They're running simulations, testing designs, spending billions on R&D for a problem that doesn't exist. Meanwhile, the real F-47, whatever it actually looks like, is something completely different. Maybe it's a tailless design like the bird of prey. Maybe it's got thrust vectoring that eliminates the need for traditional control surfaces. Maybe it's got something we can't even imagine yet. But by putting fake canards in the official images, the Pentagon has successfully sent our adversaries on a wild goose chase. It's brilliant psychological warfare. Everyone's comparing the F-47 to China's J-36 like it's a fair fight. It's not, and China knows it. The J-36 is designed to fight the last war. It's designed to beat F-22s and F-35s. It's optimized for the threats China knows about. The F-47 is designed to fight a war that hasn't been defined yet. It's not just a better fighter. It's a different paradigm. China's building a bigger, faster, more maneuverable fighter. That's fourth-generation thinking applied to sixth-generation technology. America's building a quarterback. The F-47 doesn't need to be the biggest or fastest. It needs to coordinate the battle. It needs to control the drones. It needs to dominate the electromagnetic spectrum. Here's the perfect analogy. China built a really, really good sword. America built a command center that controls a robot army. Guess which one wins? And here's the evidence China knows they're in trouble. Remember how I mentioned they accelerated their military timeline by 3 years after finding out about the F-47's secret flights? That's not the action of a country that thinks they're winning. That's panic. Chinese military journals from early 2025, right after the F-47 announcement, completely changed their 6th-gen fighter requirements. Suddenly, they're talking about loyal wingman programs and collaborative combat systems. They're literally copying the American playbook because they realized their original approach was obsolete before the J-36 even entered service. Here's what makes this program truly revolutionary. The F-47 has gallium nitride radars. Traditional radars use gallium arsenide. They're powerful, but they have thermal limits. They can only push so much energy before they overheat. Gallium nitride? It can handle 3 times the power density. It generates less heat. But here's the real game changer. It can operate in multiple frequency bands simultaneously. What does that mean? The F-47 can radar track enemy aircraft while also jamming their radars, while also communicating with drones, while also providing weather updates to the pilot, all at once, from the same array. It's not a radar, it's a multifunction electromagnetic warfare and communication system that happens to also do radar. Now combine that with the drone swarm capability. Each CCA has its own sensors. The F-47 is fusing data from hundreds of sources, processing it with AI, and creating a complete real-time picture of the battlespace that no enemy can match. This isn't air superiority. This is information supremacy that enables air dominance. Here's why I know this isn't vaporware. Boeing just spent $1.8 billion on a brand new manufacturing facility in St. Louis. You don't spend that kind of money on a program that might get canceled. General Alvin announced in September 2025 that manufacturing has begun. Not, we're planning to start. Not, manufacturing will begin soon. It's already happening. First flight is 2028. That's less than 3 years away. The F-35 took 15 years from contract award to first operational squadron. The F-47 is doing it in 4 years because they already did the hard part in those 5 years of secret testing. All the high-risk development is done. The engines work, the stealth works, the AI works, the drone control works. Now they're just building production aircraft. And here's the final twist. Trump mentioned that allies are calling constantly asking to buy the F-47, and he suggested toned-down versions might be available for export. The F-22 has never been approved for export. Too sensitive, too advanced. Congress literally made it illegal to sell to anyone. But the F-47 might be exportable? After just a few years of service? Here's my theory. The version they're willing to export isn't actually toned down. It's just not the real F-47. What if there are 2 programs? The F-47 that gets announced and eventually exported, and the black program version that's even more advanced. What if those 5 years of secret flights were testing multiple variants? An export model and a US-only model with capabilities we'll never hear about. It would explain why they're suddenly comfortable with exports. The version allies will get is impressive, but it's not the version that the Pentagon is actually counting on to maintain dominance. So here's what you need to understand. For 5 years, America has been flying a 6th-generation fighter in complete secrecy. China found out and panicked. Russia knows they can't compete. Our allies are begging to buy it. This isn't just a new fighter jet. This is America announcing that the next 50 years of aerial warfare will be fought on our terms, with our technology, under our rules. And the craziest part? Everything I just told you is based on publicly available information. Imagine what's still classified. When you share this video, you're sharing information that most people still don't fully understand. You're ahead of the curve. You know what's really happening while everyone else is still reading headlines about cost overruns and program delays. The F-47 isn't coming. It's already here, and China just realized they're playing a game they can't win. If this blew your mind, you need to see what I just uncovered about China's response. They built a $500 billion radar network to stop American stealth aircraft. But then the B-21 showed up and made the entire thing worthless. I break down exactly how in the video on your screen right now. Click it before YouTube buries it. And drop a comment telling me which detail shocked you most. I'm reading every single one.